righty. I am here with Marisol. Marisol is a mom to 3
Heck
now. That's
no.
so wild. So she has an older son and then a daughter who she's homeschooling, and then this new sweet little peanut. Oh my goodness. I was just telling her I'm shocked that you even said yes to wanting to do this, but sometimes it's nice to just like have an adult conversation in the newborn phase too. So, yeah. Um, so we'll start with just how we know each other first, and then I'll dive into asking you a bunch of questions. I'm trying to remember the first time we met. Do you remember? So our girls went to a homeschool art class
Yeah,
together, and so they kind of connected first, and
right.
then it just so happened, well, I
I
guess,
Megan's. When we went to Megan, Kai was like, "Hey, I know her,
yeah,
Louise," and hello,
yeah,
like, they're like, "Hey, we know each other."
yeah. Yeah, so classic small world homeschool community. And yeah, now we're part of this like larger group together, which is so awesome. So they met first and then we trailed behind them.
Yeah, that
Um, so I would love to know from you, what was your life like not only before homeschooling, but before kids? Like, who are you? What was life?
well, like, okay, so to be very honest, I had such a small part of my life, uh, being a kid.
Mm,
The kid who had a kid. So I had
mm,
one at 16 years. So if I think about it, I've been a mom for a long time.
mm.
So I only had 16 years of being a kid, and I was a kid.
Wild.
Oh, and then I just went right into being a mom. So, and then not just a mom, but a mom of a child with special needs because my son has autism. And so, um, yeah, so I think the autism really just motivated me to get into like a field. I know I always loved kids. I wanted to be like a pediatrician, pediatric surgeon.
Mm,
But once I found out my son had autism, I actually wanted to go into the field of special education, where I felt like I could provide a lot of support, not just for like the kids, but also to parents. Because parents, how often does a parent get to meet a teacher who is also going through the same thing?
yep.
So, that was like my big motivation and also the fact that I would learn so much, right, about special needs and about autism and about advocacy and I would be able to advocate for my own child.
Hmm.
Twofold. It was like therapeutic, it was like helping, and it was uh curiosity and wanting more knowledge.
So inspiring and beautiful, by the way.
You. So yeah, so that's what I did. And so I worked really hard because, he had therapy. So to go part-time to school, like I, would be a mom during the day or work. I was a single parent. I was married at first, but then after 5 years, we got divorced, my husband and I. So then really my life was taking care of Danny and going to work and just like whatever in any type of job that was not paid very well. And then going to school at nighttime and working on my papers at nighttime. And I'm like really thankful that I was a young mom because I don't know if I could have done all that I did if I was older as an older parent.
Mm.
So I became a teacher, a special education teacher. And it was just before that, actually, was a floor time educator, which means I was working with kids who had autism and their parents, and I was helping them. I went through a training on like this method called the Greenspan method. And it was just how to open and close circles of communication with your child with autism. So I think the therapists that were doing it with me saw that I had potential and they sent me through a training and I started working with families. And that's what I did first in a public school district outside of public school hours. And then, I went through my student teaching, like all of that. And then I became a teacher. So I was a special education teacher and I worked with kids who were 3 years of age all the way to eighth grade. So I've targeted all those. And then I became an instructional coach. So I decided my school, they were hiring instructional coaches. And so I decided to apply for it. And there were like two types of coaches, like an innovative coach or a literacy coach. And I got offered both positions. So then I had to pick one of them. And eventually that role kind of morphed into just one, which was just an instructional coach. So I had to work with teachers who wanted to work with me, and then teachers who were forced to work with me. S-
Hmm.
That for 5 years, um, until I had Kai. And so, but also one of the things that I loved doing is that I also loved yoga. And so, when I was trying to get pregnant, when I got married to Mike, and then we were trying to get pregnant, we had difficulties in that area. So then we decided to look into adoption. And through the adoptions, we went through like three failed adoptions before we had Kai. And like yoga was always like something that I loved doing. And so I also got my yoga teacher training. I used to go to like a lovely studio, and that was one of the things that I just loved to do. Um, and so, yeah, like I was really also involved with Danny, with my son Danny, who, like I said, has autism. And we went to a lot of different schools and we would talk about autism. And since Danny was very high functioning, he was able to talk. So we would do like instructional trainings for different school districts, as well as different organizations. I was also like a board member of the Autism Society of Illinois.
Mm.
So just like honestly, I was just like super involved with everything that was autism. So I feel like yoga was my only thing that was like truly for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I really love that.
Yeah.
And then let's see, we had Kai, and I was like an older parent at that time. Um, and yeah, that was like wonderful. And then here I am again, even older, and have an infant. So I really do not remember like a time where I was just not a parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably very different than all the other stories you'll hear.
So, my gosh, so much love and respect, Marisol.
Oh, thanks.
Um, in terms of homeschooling, so, obviously you had quite a lot of experience in the education world, as well as in public schools. Was
Yeah.
homeschooling always kind of on your radar, or what was the thing that made you go down that path?
No, so actually, okay, I was the person that because I was raised in public school. I went to private Catholic school for my elementary, but then I would say like starting late elementary and on, I was through just public school, and I became a public school teacher, right? So I really thought that the kids that were homeschooled were like the odd kids. Like because that's what you think, or like the super religious, and I'm religious myself, but like off the top, right? That's what I thought. Um and that it was kind of like an odd thing, and how could people do that because that's going to hinder their socialization, et cetera, et cetera. But then what happened is um when I became an instructional coach, and I had to work with teachers. At first, I had to work with teachers that wanted to work with me,
Mhm.
that want to work with an instructional coach because, you're going into the classroom and you're meeting with them, you're setting goals, and you're trying to improve best teaching practices within the classroom. It's already the people that are over the top good. It's already the people that are like the teachers that are very caring, that want to always to improve. But then I had to work with teachers who had to just work with me, right? So it was kind of forced. And then I just started seeing how many people were just not good, how many teachers, how many bad teachers there were out there. And then I started thinking, oh my gosh, what if my child had those teachers
Mm,
of Kai? When it came to Danny, I had a lot more control because I knew so much because I was a special education teacher, because I was a member of the Autism Society of Illinois, because I was so involved with school districts, with organizations. I feel like people were somewhat, I don't want to say scared of me, but like, uh, kinda, right? Like they didn't want to like I would go in there and I knew everything. I knew the law. I wasn't scared to bring like a lawyer if I needed to. So I had a lot of say in who Danny had as a teacher.
mm,
Um, but when you have a child that's typically developing, you don't have that. You can't just say, I want to change to a different teacher. You don't. When you
mm,
have the special ed card, as I like to call it, um, you can say this, my son is not gelling with this person and it has to do with his needs and blah, blah, blah. And it's just taken a little bit better by everybody than I don't want my kid to go into. So I already had that. Knowing that, that kind of jaded me already. And I had to work so closely with admin. My office was in the admin building. So I got to see like all of these things, all of these decisions that were made that were coming from such higher ups, right? That were never involved with kids. So that was disheartening too. So that honestly was a huge reason. My second reason, so first was the bad teachers, okay? Second reason was that I also got to see how many teachers don't know how to teach reading and language arts effectively. And so knowing that, um, and just knowing how long it takes to be able to teach an adult and change an adult that maybe has been set in their ways for such a long time, um, that was my second one. Like I wanted my child to know how to read and write the right way. And I just didn't think that I was going to get that. 'Cause even the good teachers sometimes just were not taught how to teach reading and writing effectively. So that was number two. Um, and then like just COVID happened, and that made it a little bit easier for me to start exploring, like just not knowing what was going to happen.
right.
I decided to just get involved in all of these homeschool groups, just so that I can start like dipping my toes in the water, feeling it out. And I had some very nice people that allowed me to come into their group when Kai was only like 3 years old. But just so that I can get some better knowledge of like, what is this, right? Like, what is this? Like, how are these kids? Um, and I was just so surprised on how active and how social homeschool kids are. Like, I feel like now, like we are too social. Like,
Yeah.
have time for academics. So it was totally opposite. And I do also think that the state that you live in is conducive to that.
Totally.
Or living like if I was in Illinois, I would be outside probably very little, a very small part of the time. And here in Colorado is just there's just a lot more opportunities to be outdoors, to just a lot more opportunities. So I think it is kind of state dependent.
Totally.
But so yeah, so that's why I decided to do it. So those were my really
Yeah.
main reasons. Bad teacher, no good reading and writing. And then
I always know you're gonna be honest, Marisol.
I know. I was like, serious. And I know that this probably sounds terrible because it's like I'm throwing, another teacher scene there. It's like I'm throwing people under the bus. But, when you're a teacher, you think that you close your door and you think that everybody is doing the same thing that you're doing in your classroom. And so
Yeah.
it's a huge shock to me to then have to work with teachers, because I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to work with teachers and this is going to be so amazing. We're going to do amazing things. The kids are going to get better.
Yeah.
That's not what I came like face to face with. So it was like a big shock for me and really sad for me because I've always worked my butt off and I've always tried to do so much for my students that to think that there were people that don't think that way or not doing the same thing just made me feel really sad, right?
Yeah.
I just did not want for my child.
I also think, unfortunately, like, teachers are so under, resourced in
Oh,
our schools, so sometimes I think about that too. It's like what people want to do versus what they're actually able to do. But
yeah,
your point about how, it felt easier to advocate for a child with special needs and somehow not as available to advocate for a child who's like typically developing or whatever. That is such a strong point because it's really sad. And this goes for like our healthcare system too, right? Like, it's so sad that we have to wait for these certain things to feel like we can actually like stand our ground and advocate for something and stand up for something when
right.
really like that should be available to everyone all the time. Like, if
But
you don't like the way that something is happening or, you're uncomfortable by something, like you should just always be able to stand up. And I just
agree.
think it's a really strong point that sometimes people, whether there's not room for it or people don't take it seriously or people don't respect it as much or place it as, a priority, whatever it is, um, for everything and everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So those were really like my main reasons. And then I think that just like school started going a little crazy with things, like just things that they like I just felt that even when I was teaching, like they were trying to push more and more things to teach that I felt like teachers shouldn't be teaching.
Mm,
The whole social emotional learning kind of happened, right? And we were really like, okay, you need to teach this social emotional thing and right. And that's great. So I'm all for social emotional learning. But like the way that they wanted to teach us, like again, top down, right? Saying you're going to teach this and it's going to be this way. And you're like, you don't even know what my classroom makeup is like. You don't even know. So it's a lot of like, you have to do this instead of letting us have as teachers, right? Letting us have that flexibility to know our students, know our classroom, say, okay, here's a curriculum, teach it to the best of your abilities for how your class makeup is.
yeah.
Oh, that's not fair because then you get teachers like operating out of fear and
Mm,
again, not doing what's best for the kids, but just because they're like nervous that somebody's going to walk in and see something different. And so that was also I don't know, I just saw that that was happening a lot too. Uh,
yeah.
even when I was in there but yeah, those were really my reasons.
Do you have a particular sort of philosophy, that you sort of follow with homeschooling, or do you kind of pull from a lot of places? And also, like, what is your relationship between like curriculum versus like unschooling? How does your day kind of come together?
Yeah, okay, so that, at first I was like the type because I'm very type A, and so I was like, okay, we need to fill our days with everything. Like we need to do from this time to this time, we're gonna do this, and from this time to this time, we're gonna do that. And so it started out and that did not work. Because we were so social, right? And so we were always doing things. So then I was like, I started educating myself. Like with anything, I've always like read a bunch of books. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really have to sit all day and then have lunch. And this is the reason why I'm homeschooling. So I don't have to follow like a traditional school schedule.
Yeah.
So that took a long time. And it actually took a lot of like help from Mike and from books to just know that I did not need to follow that.
Yeah.
Um, and that my kid was learning when we were outside, when we were hiking.
Despite it all.
Exactly. Learning. So I'm
Yeah.
like, no, this is great. So then I like scaled back to just thinking that the only thing that I really wanted to make sure that I taught every day was reading, writing, and math. Like those are like my things that I feel like um are very important to me.
Mm,
Because I do think that there needs to be consistency in those. And I think it's building blocks. And I think that if you say, well, I'm not going to teach, reading today, or I'm only going to teach reading on language arts 2 times a week, and then that's it. I think that's where gaps start to come in. And so I think that those three things are very important. And those are things that I try to hit as much as possible.
mm,
Um, sometimes it doesn't happen 5 days a week for me. Sometimes it only happens three, sometimes it happens four. And I'm okay with that. Part of it is I know like Kai is and my daughter's very advanced. And she's just, I guess I've always had like, I feel better with the curriculum, but I've always pull from things as well. Just because I've been teaching for so long, I know the things that I can pull from.
yeah.
I also know that curriculum is not a one size fits all. That was always my frustration in the public school. But as a special education teacher, I was able to use so much curriculum, the curriculum that was best for each student for their individual needs. And
Mm,
so I already came into homeschooling knowing that I'm probably going to buy this curriculum and it might not work. And I have a lot of curriculum that I have not. Uh, and really, like, just the curriculum that I pick is really rooted for reading and language arts. It's rooted in the science of reading. And
yeah.
as long as I'm following the science of reading, which was like a study that was done, it was like 50 years, was done for 50 years about, and it was done for different countries on how kids learn how to read and adults. And so they would take CAT scans of the brain, right, to see how kids are learning. And it's through phonemic awareness and phonics and all of that is through that kids learn how to read. It's literally a rewiring of the brain. So you do have to be very systematic in doing that. Um, and so I always gravitate to curriculum that is rooted in science of reading for reading and language arts. And then for math, it's just kind of like what works for my child. And so I've tried, some programs where they're more rigid. And then I've tried other programs that are like more play based, meaning like more games for math. And I have found that my daughter Kai responds to both, like
Mm,
a between. So it's like right now I have two curriculums that I use. Um, I use Singapore math, and then I use what is it's not math you can see, but it's another one that I forget. But it is all game based. And so I feel like I do a combination of both of them.
nice.
Now that I have Eve, I feel like I'm not getting any teaching done. So we just recently signed up, hence what the reason why I'm trying to get help. Signed up for something called Mia Academy,
Mm,
online platform. And I've been like really, really happy with that. I'm trying it out for a month. And again, like you can do social studies, science, you can do Spanish, there's so many things you can do. But like just right now, I want it for reading, language arts, and math, and that's it.
yeah.
So So that's what I'm doing now, just as I, figure out like a routine with the baby.
Yeah. With this
So,
little tiny nugget.
yeah, but always changing and always evolving, right?
Yeah. So when a homeschool day is going really, really well, or when you think of like your favorite homeschool days, what
Mhm.
are they made up of? Like not just schedule wise, but like what's the feeling? How do
That's-
you feel?
Oh, I just feel like so productive. I feel like, wow, I can't believe that I'm so productive in such a short amount of time. Or I feel like, wow, I'm like really teaching in things that we think are not teaching.
Mm,
Like most people feel like they're not teaching, right? Like cooking. baking. Like, that's math. Like, Kai knows so much, like, telling time, even, like, when you're baking, like, trying to look at the clock, setting a timer, learning, like, all those things, like, what time do we have to leave for this group? Like, just all the things that are embedded that come so natural,
Mm,
is what I love about it. And I think, like, our school, like, our day always starts off with reading, right? Like, we're reading something. And then, we just kind of like go in different parts of the house, right? We have a homeschool room. So I think Kai likes to do that. We start off with like a circle and like waking up our body and, some songs. We do calendar. And then we move into like whatever we're going to do, our lesson. And then our lessons they don't have to strictly be in there. It could be like on the table, it could be on the couch, it could be on the floor. Um, so I just like that. It could be outside, like outside in our backyard or in the front, or sometimes we go to the park. It's just so we've also walked over to Starbucks and done our lessons there. So it's
yeah.
really nice to
The
be.
flexibility.
Yes, which I wanted the homeschool room because I wanted to be in there, from like 8 to 9. We're gonna
Yeah.
and like so much, right? That like I'm even going to Starbucks to to go. So I just love that flexibility. I just feel like it's very, very nice. And also that my kid gets to learn from other parents. Like when we have our group, like our groups, different homeschool groups, and kids are learning how to make like fire cider or elderberry syrup or like all these things are just so great for them to learn at such a young age when Kai knows about like how to read labels, like about healthy eating, um about fructose corn syrup, like she knows about her poop type, like all these stuff we don't have at school. So
I just love if we distill it down. It's like, what are your favorite homeschool days? What do you love most about them? I love that my kid knows her poop type.
she knows type 5 and type
Yeah.
4 and super excited about her poop type. So I just feel like all those things, like fermenting our own things, making our sourdough, like things like that is just like, wow, these are like real life experiences. And there's so much learning that goes in it, even though people might think there isn't, right? Or that they
Yeah.
can with themselves, which they can.
Yeah. Um, I might know the answer to this because you were alluding to it perhaps a little bit, but what is the part of homeschooling that stretches you the most? And it maybe is your new little nugget there who has thrown your world upside down.
Yeah, sure. For sure. Cause I feel like, okay, like I was in a good role, even though I was like, oh gosh, what can I take? What can I take out? Like even with groups that I was in, I had to see like what was serving us, right? And
Yeah.
let go of because I couldn't do everything. Uh,
Yeah.
very easy to get into. That's why, it's so different than what I thought, like all the weird kids or the kids that are not social because kids are so social. They're too social.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but right now for sure, the baby is throwing my world. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's that I know it's not going to be like that forever, but it does cause me a lot of anxiety. And it does cause me to think like, oh my gosh, like is Kai, like am I not going to be able to do enough for her? Do I need to think of something different? Should I consider school for her again? And then in talking about it, like with Mike, and with other moms, like, then I just feel better because they all went through the same things that I went through. And now we found something that is working for us for now.
Yeah.
And then I have to always tell myself that this is just for now. This is not forever. And things will always evolve and change and things are never going to be the same. Like it's never. So just trying to be like live in that moment so that I can not go crazy since I have an infant right now.
Yeah. Well, and there's so much value, I think, in her just having a new little being, you
Oh,
know? Like, I found myself thinking of that when my youngest was born and, I have my other 2, and yeah, I'm like, "What's getting done right now?" But then they would come downstairs and they'd, like, bring dolls downstairs and be changing the dolls' diapers as I'm changing diapers, and, like, there was so much sweetness to it too, and you're just like, "Yeah, and this is life." Like, we're all learning how to be in this new space together and how to care for this little one and how to care for ourselves and each other, and, like, yes, there are critics, I'm sure, who are like, "But they still should have been doing all all of these other
right.
things." And I'm like, "You know what? For those few months when it was like that little tiny, tiny pocket of time, which is like nothing in the
Yeah,
great scheme of things, like we were exactly where we needed to be, you know?"
I agree. I agree. Thinking like Kai, is like helping to make the bottles and she knows what ounces are because of the bottle and how many scoops of formula she needs to put on per ounce, right? And then, when it's sleeping time, she knows how to calculate. Oh, she slept from this time to that time. And she'll look at her clock and she said, Mom, she only slept for 30 minutes. And she can say, oh, the last time she fed was at this time. So, like this many hours, that's math. Like that is
Yeah.
a ton of math that she's doing.
Yeah.
And so, okay, sometimes you just think, right, that my child might not be learning certain things, but they're learning a ton. And
Yeah.
and I always freak myself out, like I do. I part of my personality. Um, and then I'm like, no, things are okay. Things are good. Like things, you know what I mean? Like I just have
Yeah.
like moments, and I think that's just because it's part of my personality type.
Yeah. And just and I would say, like, we have this overarching thing over our heads that's like, this is the only way that you learn, right? Like, we have been taught for however long, this is how you learn, and you need to have workbooks, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And,
Yeah,
like, time and place for all those things. Like, yes, of course. But I think part of what we're both talking about is this like expanded idea of what learning actually is
yeah,
and what it looks like. And so, yeah, when you are living in that expanse, it's easy to feel like you're not doing it right. It may be
sure.
personality or maybe all the outside forces that are like, you aren't doing it right because there's this other way. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah,
societal messaging's interesting.
yeah. No, I agree with you.
um, what is something, well, this kind of bounces off what we were just talking about, but what is something you feel like you had to unlearn in order to homeschool the way that you want to?
I think like unlearn how to be like just being rigid. Being
Mm,
rigid with what I think, with what I was thinking was how to unschool myself, right? Because I was like, oh, this is great. This is perfect. But then when I was trying to execute things, I was still feeling like, oh my gosh, but we're doing all these things. But, this is not how so the traditional school was always creeping in for me. Like
yeah,
way, the bell, the school day bell, right? Like from this time to this time we have to do this, and from this time to this time, and kids do reading and writing for an hour and a half, and I'm not doing that for an hour and a half. Like
yeah,
I had to really work on like unschooling myself.
yeah,
That was the hardest part. And I feel like I still need help with that. Like I still, as different, as Kai gets older and things are different, like I still am. It's working a lot on it because it's so many years, right? That I
right.
that I've been like a teacher and that I have been in that public school system too myself as a individual.
Yeah. Do you feel like homeschooling has changed you?
Oh yes, absolutely. I feel like it's made me like more flexible.
Yeah,
Um I feel like it's helped me to think like outside the box, right? And just let go of things that I was thinking that they were the right things to do.
yeah, yeah. Okay, when things feel hard or when you feel stretched,
Yeah.
um, what are some things that you do to help you find support or grounding? Like, do you have, I mean, you mentioned yoga earlier.
So I would say it's so funny because for a long time, even when Kai was here, like maybe I went to yoga like once or twice. Um, and I have like a yoga room in here, like a little room that Mike kind of made into like a yoga room. Um, but I wasn't like really actively practicing because I was just like pouring into like, family and Kai and not really doing much for me. Um, so then I decided to really like go into like a studio and start doing that more and thank you. And my practice as well here, like in my house. And it's just been great. So I feel like that has helped. Now it's gone a little bit to the wayside now, right? Because of the baby. But definitely something that I feel like when I find it, like I love it. And also um just my spirituality, like
I was gonna say faith, yeah.
yeah, my faith is huge because I am religious, right? And I feel like that is something that has helped me so much. I feel like since I have moved to Colorado, I feel like my faith has increased so much and I've become like a lot closer to God. Um so I just feel like all of that. Like I also love meditation. Like I used to do that with my church too. So just, I've been to the Shambhala a couple times.
Yeah,
All that stuff has helped me tremendously, I feel like.
yeah,
But it's stuff that you have to be more conscious and that you want to like have that time to do it and that I don't always do it. Even though I know it's good for me, it's so easy to say, I'm going to do that later because you're just pouring into your kids,
yeah,
and to not have that time, I guess make that time like a valuable and sacred time
yeah,
is super important. So,
yeah,
even reading, my reading has, now I'm like reading more books about spirituality and, things like that, that are good for me, right? Instead of like reading about all of these things, knowledge, like, you know,
yeah,
get into that too, because I know that that's good for me.
yeah. All right, last question, and then I have to let you go with this little baby because I'm like, you are doing so much over there. I feel so guilty for keeping you on this call. Last question is just when you think back to like, making the decision to homeschool, um, and I say like, making that decision, but I feel like all of us, we're always like continuing to make the decision, right? Like it's not like you make it and then you're just like, it's
Yeah.
that no matter what for the like we're all actively choosing it all the time. But I guess what would you say to someone who is like, maybe considering the choice or right on the brink of the choice, or what's something that you wish that you would have known when you were just starting out, or something that would have been really good for that Marisol to hear as she was like about to embark on the journey?
I just think like to be open minded, to just be open minded and to think and to be confident in the fact that you know your child best and um that you know what's best, like you know how your child learns best. And this is coming from a teacher. So me having like so much working with so many kids from all these different ages, I still was feeling like I wouldn't be good enough, like for my own child.
Yeah,
So, um, that's like a big that's a huge thing that I think would and I think that has come that came a lot that how do I say it? That came through a lot with conversations with Mike. I feel like when the other parent is on board with you, it's
mm,
makes things so much better because Mike helped me a lot through that. And then also having like a group, like other homeschool moms to hear that. And so I would encourage anybody, even if they are wanting, if they are, they just want to know more, like get into a group, like try to find a group, even if your kid is little and they're not being homeschooled yet, just so that they can find more. Because when you have support, and you have a support group, you feel like you're on top of the world.
Yeah.
Going to be your people. Those are going to be your tribe, and those are going to be the people that are going to motivate you, and obviously your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for I still can't believe that you said that you would do this. I felt bad even asking you, but I was like, I don't want to leave Marisol out. Like she has so much to say and so much good wisdom. Hi, Kai. Um, so I'm grateful for your perspective and your willingness to share and do, as you're like doing all the things with a newborn over there.
Like my life now.
Yeah. Alrighty.
I'll have to do it. And I feel like
Oh, shoot, you're cutting out just a little bit. What did you say?
I just think that it's important. I think what you're doing is really good because it's really important for others, especially people that think, oh, I can never do this. Like I've heard that so much. People that say, I can never do this because I wouldn't even know what to do. And there are so many open and go curriculums. There's so many like you don't need to be a teacher to teach your child. You just need to you do it is self-sacrificing though because you are with your child all day long. But to me, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I just think learning with them, like you both are learning together. Like I feel like, wow, I've so many things that I learned in school that I don't even remember.
Yeah.
From learning them alongside with Kai is just so nice. Like you're a facilitator, instead of being a like the one that is providing that knowledge, you're learning
Yeah.
side. And I think that's super cool because
Yes.
I see you as somebody who wants to learn too, and then they're more open and they want to learn even more.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's super important.
No. I just want to like hug both of you right now, like through the camera. Little squish and smell her head. I want to smell her head too. Thank you so much, Marisol.
Well,